Okay, and we're live. Welcome to Chalk Talk, everyone. I'm very excited tonight to have someone who I've been messaging quite a lot and to get on here on the podcast and have a good chat with him, talk all things football and so on and so forth. Alex Sykes, he's had an absolutely fantastic career as a player, playing at a really good non-league level. And now he's progressed, obviously, into management over recent years and is a very experienced manager at sort of Southern League level. And has done really well with that over the years as well. Welcome to the show, Sykesy. Thanks so much for coming on. And I just want to congratulate you first and foremost on, obviously, you're managing Cinderford now. And you've just had the reprieve and the fantastic news that you will play in the Southern League again next season.
Thanks, Whitey. Yeah, we will. So the phone's been a bit warmer than it was about 3 weeks ago. There's a few people now messaging me. I got lots of goodwill messages and that sort of thing. So that was brilliant. It's brilliant to be in a better league. Long story short, I don't think we deserve to be where we were. Certainly don't think we deserve to be going down. Size of the club, etc., all the support and everything else. And the board, they're fabulous. Fingers crossed. We've got a Southern League campaign now to prepare for, and for me to get my skates on with a bit of recruitment.
And I think it's fair to say Cinderford have always been what I would call a substantial club in non-league football. I say they've got a nice, decent ground and a good backing. I've always enjoyed playing there whenever I've been up there in the past, and it's a proper non-league club, isn't it?
Yeah, nice of you to say that, because I say on a regular basis. As a player, I used to hate going there. As a manager on a Tuesday night, I used to detest going there and never really did very well. So yeah, I'm trying to bring that sort of I suppose horror show coming back to Cinderford if you're an opposing player or manager, and feel like I felt. But no, it's brilliant. I've got to be honest. Since I've been there October last year, the board, the backing, all the fans, and our regulars, they're fabulous. They're good people, and they deserve, to be at that level, if not higher. And I know they've had some good times, certainly in the last few years. Certainly under John, Paul Michael, a few other managers. I just want to try and bring a little bit of that back, really, and feel certainly after last season that me and Morth, who's my assistant, we certainly owe the fans and the board that. So hence we were going to be staying whatever level we were at. We weren't going to suddenly run away, because it was partly our fault where we were. We did think for a long time that third bottom was going to be enough. Certainly when I walked in, it was going to be, and then the rules changed. And documented without getting into too much trouble with saying what I honestly think about that situation. I'm glad to be back in that league, and I think the club certainly deserves, like you say, to be there.
Yeah, absolutely. Good stuff. Right, let's rewind slightly. Also, I'll talk more about Cinderford as we get into things. But I'd just like to rewind right to the start. What are your earliest memories of football?
Oh, blimey. That's a long time ago now for me, Whitey. That not some of your normal guests. They're only about 20 or 30. That's not as far back. So
you're not that old.
Yeah. My earliest memories, probably as a young lad. I say being forced to be an Arsenal fan because my old man was one, but I do remember vividly something about the 1979 Cup final and Alan Sunderland scoring on the back post. I think it's probably just because I've watched it so many times since. But just knocking the ball about. My old man and my mum actually were both referees at local football level, so it would be one of those on a Saturday and a Sunday morning. You'd just be in the back of the car taking a football, taking a drink and a snack, and you'd just be booting the ball around wherever you could. So I suppose that's the earliest memories. And then a bit later than that, I suppose, as a teenager, I say early teens, I lived in Hereford, so it's sort of certainly one of your dad's ex-clubs, and I was in the sort of youth development side there, youth teams, etc., and played locally in Hereford for Lads Club and then for Westfield. So yeah, it was just playing at that level, I suppose, locally.
Yeah, great. So were you affiliated with an academy at all in your teenage years, or?
Yeah, so I was in old school, and this is one for the youngsters. I suppose they wouldn't know about this, but it was the equivalent back in those days was being a schoolboy. So I was a schoolboy for Hereford United. So, all that meant was it was a bit like the academy setup in that respect. You'd go in half terms and holiday times and train, with the youth team or with the youth structure there. I was part of the county setup at the time. I was playing a lot of cricket and rugby at the time as well, and for the county team. So I was doing a bit absolutely everything. Any day there was a fixture or a practice on every night as a youngster. That was all that I was doing. So yeah, got into the county team and then got into the schools team, and I decided at 16 stay on and do my A levels. I turned down the equivalent of a YTS or a scholar as it is nowadays. At Hereford United, just because I thought I had half a brain cell at the time, And I thought getting some A levels. My mum was a teacher. She was like, just get your A levels in. You can always play football wherever you go. And that turned out to be one of the best decisions possibly ever. I was in the same sort of year as Gareth Davis. You might remember Gareth played for Chippenham and went Crystal Palace.
Yeah, the ginger haired centre back.
Yeah, big ginger. Yeah. He works for the FAW now, but he was. We were in the same year group, and he got into the youth team and obviously made his football league debut maybe at 18, maybe 17, 18. So it was on a par, and it was always a bit of maybe I should have done that. But actually at 18, what I managed to do is, because I was still in education, I had trials for the England Schools FA team and got in the under 18 team there. So managed to play 3 or 4 internationals. Played against Holland. Scored against Sander Westerveld, played against Van Bronckhorst, so it wasn't too bad really. And in my team, there were some big hitters. Really, Dave Johnson played up front for us. I think he was about 16 at the time. Went to Forest, Ipswich, and everywhere else. And a few others besides. Kevin Pilkington played in goal, the Man United keeper. So it was a good group, and it was full of lads who stayed on at school and were doing things that way. So a lot of them then went to the States, did that sort of thing, and I got picked up to be a pro from there. So yeah, from the depths of Hereford and turning down the YTS, I was then, getting a pro deal and getting trials at pro clubs at the age of sort of 17, 18.
Yeah, great. So what pro club was that offered you your first pro contract?
So as Monk's sort of going on to, I think I went on trial at Derby. I had a week at Derby, I had a week at Man City at the time, and then Man City weren't the Man City they are now, by the way. I have to stress that. But there were still some good players. I remember having a week there. Neil Lennon was injured at the time. Actually, he was a young midfielder at that point. So yeah, there was a few names in there as well. And I got signed by Mansfield at the time. So I was playing football for Westfields in Hereford. And Mansfield came in with an offer. They'd also had one of the reasons I sort of chose that, I suppose it was the pecking order. They were League 2 at the time, the equivalent of now. I think it was League 3 at the time. And I just thought there was more opportunity probably for me as a young player to go and get first team football. That's the way my mind thought at that time. Going to the Derbys or the Man Cities of the world, I thought, you're going to just be another one on the conveyor belt and you probably won't play. And Mansfield, the year before my England sort of team, there's a lad called Paul Holland who went on to play for Bristol City, actually, centre midfielder, and he played about, I think he'd made his debut. He did the same thing. He was in the England schools team, played for Mansfield, and he'd made about 100 appearances by the time he was 19. So it was I suppose it was a good role model example for me, and we ended up in digs together anyway. So it was good really. Went there as a pro, 2 years as a pro, absolutely shot to pieces in my first year. Thought when I turned up that I was fit, and then got there and realised that these apprentices and these lads who've been doing YTSs and been doing fast laps and 60-second laps around the pitch for the last 2 years were miles ahead. My first day of pre-season, I remember we had about 3 days, I think, before the weekend, maybe started on a Wednesday, and I was still sore by the time I went back the next Monday, and just thought, yeah, this is a different kettle of fish, even at that level. So it was a sort of out of the frying pan into the fire, and definitely felt a bit, this is pro football now. And with some really good seasoned pros in that dressing room as well. So, you're looking at the likes of people like Steve Parkin, who's gone on to be assistant manager at other places. He played at Stoke for years, and he was a club captain, and you lost like that. This is what coming in, day out looks like. And it was a bit of a shock to the system, I'll be honest. End of my first year, I'd still applied to go to uni. So I was sort of on a gap year. I'd done all the UCAS applications and that sort of thing. So I still had that in the locker. End of my first year, the manager pulled me in the office with the assistant and said, look, Sykesy, I think we're, long story short, but I think it's not for us. We'll cancel your contract. I had a 2-year deal. We'll cancel your contract and you can go separate ways, go to uni, go and play, do whatever. And I was like, thought long and hard. And I kept thinking at the time, strangely, I thought, I'm going to be a mature student at uni. This is going to be a nightmare. And I was like, no, I'll put it off. No, I'm going to stick with it. I'll come back pre-season. And I just wanted to prove him a little bit wrong, I suppose. He was a big, horrible centre-back and didn't really probably appreciate what I was trying to do. I thought I was doing okay in the reserves. I scored a few goals and I was just never getting a chance. I probably wasn't good enough at the time, and that showed. And off the pitch, it was a big learning curve, moving away from home. 18, 19, you're suddenly thrown into digs with 5 other lads, 2 are first teamers, 3 are YTS. It was just a bit. It was brilliant fun, but on the flip side, from a football perspective, I knew I had to be better. So I came back the second year, lived in digs again. Manager changed after 3 months, typical situation. New manager comes in. It was a new lease of life for me, because it was an absolute clean slate for everybody, and that was what I needed. And that manager was Andy King, and he walked in, bless him. and he was just hilarious.
So he's the former Swindon manager, is that right?
Yeah, he's passed away now, unfortunately. But yeah,
Yeah.
former Swindon manager was just he was just a massive character, hilarious bloke. Just to give you one first day of training, he walks in and he has to do the best like keepy upper is in the group. He said, "Right, who is it? Get the ball up in the air." And this is his first briefing to the lads, literally introducing himself. He sat on his bottom, literally, a cigar in his mouth, and just kept this ball up and just kept flicking it up, and was chatting away, looking around, wasn't even looking at the football. Ball was still up in the air. And we're looking at him going, flipping out. He's got some, he was a proper player. He played for Everton, and I think he should have got more England caps, apparently. But yeah, Parky's still going. Parky drops it, and Andy King just puts it up, volleys it. And it's just like, lads, I want to play football. And suddenly I was like, I'm 19. I'm like, brilliant. This is a bit of me. So he gave me a bit of help and assistance. I didn't play much. And then on the last day of the season, he gave a couple of the young lads who he was due to release, and I was still being released at that point, a chance to play. It was about 4 or 5 of us, I think, with a few first teamers, obviously. And we went away to Walsall. It was one of those, it was the last day of the season. There was nothing on it. They couldn't go up. We couldn't do anything. And I made a debut in front of a few thousand at Walsall, and 3 minutes in, scored one from about 30 yards. And I was, obviously 19 and buzzing. And and he offered me a contract in the showers after the game. He said, "Look, we can do something. We can go week to week next year. Sykesy, really impressed with your attitude, blah, blah, blah. You've got a great goal. I think you deserve it." And I was made up. But at that point, I had a bit of a long think, really, over the summer for probably about 4 or 5 weeks. And I'd applied to go to uni that September. And I actually thought, do you know what? I think I'm going to have to do that, because a week to week at that point, he could have let me go second week of September and I'm another year behind going to uni. Or I'd have missed out, or he could have released me at Christmas and I'd have just been a bit stuck. So I was just a bit, right, I'll do the safe thing here. I'll go to uni, sort of call it quits a bit annoyingly. But yeah, I can see it's probably, I'm not going to make it into the pro. I haven't got the beans to be getting to a better level. I've only just made the debut. Let's go and do something else. So that just brought me to Cheltenham and brought me to university in Gloucestershire. And then about, obviously it was September time, so the lads were back in pre-season, Paul Holland and Darren Ward and a few others, and they get in the first round of what was the League Cup at the time, they get Leeds United at home.
Nice.
So it's Eric Cantona, Strachan, it was that team that won the Premiership, and I was like, I'm sat at Freshers Week going, could be on the bench tonight against Leeds. And so it was one of them. But that's, again, the way my career went then, it turned out for the better, for sure.
Yeah. And if you don't mind me asking, so what year was this then that you left Mansfield?
So I left Mansfield. I was there 92 to 94, and then 94 to 97 I came to uni. And then about, what was I? So it was about 95, 96 I went to Forest Green then. And a pal of mine will tell you that he got me out of the gutter from playing Sunday football and local Hellenic League football to then go to Forest Green, and then it just kicked on from there, really.
Yeah. So you come back. You did your degree at Gloucester, did you? Is that right?
Yeah. So it was Cheltenham and Gloucester College of Higher Education at the time, YT back in the day. St Paul's College for those who care. Before that, so and it's now.
There was no Hartbury back then.
No Hartbury. No, they were just Hartbury. Bless them. Then were probably just a little bit of a grounds maintenance team, I think, on a small golf course. But yeah, uni-wise, it's turned into Gloucestershire Uni now, obviously. But yeah, it was St Paul's before me, and then Cheltenham Gloucester College.
So how did you find it then, going from obviously full-time training to then coming back to? Was it a bit of a shock to? Obviously, you've seen Leeds on the tally and all that, but was it? Yeah. Did you find it hard to adjust? Even though you probably knew you sort of knew you were doing the right thing.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, because you turn up as a fresher to sort of the football club trials, at a uni like that, and you're like, I'm looking around going, what am I doing? And there's like 45 people, and people saying to me, do you play? What position do you play? We need to put you down. You might get a game in the third team, and I'm like, what am I playing at here? And it was actually he turns out to be my best mate now, and I was best man for him. But he met me on the day. He was from Devon, and he played a little bit at Willand and a few other places. And he said, "Oh, do you play a bit?" I said, "Yeah, I used to play. I used to be a pro." And he said, "Oh, where did you play?" I said, "Oh, Mansfield." And he went, "Well, you can't count that, really, can you?" So then we got on like house on fire, because I wasn't going to go shouting about the fact I was a blooming professional. But that it's not me.
Yeah.
And I just got involved with the uni team. That was great fun. Made some great pals for life with that. And And alongside that was then thinking, right, I do need to play football. I think one of the third years got me involved with Ensley at the time. They were like a good Hellenic side. They were paying a little bit. So I was getting 30 odd quid for playing football on the weekend. And I thought, actually, do you know what, alongside my studies at that point, it was that was okay. A bit similar to, a lot of the lads now, like the Hartburies and the Fultons who come out of the game and go and do the same thing. I just didn't have the bonus, I suppose, of the knowledge that, like I say, people like Rico and Radders and people like Knowlesy at Hartbury who can deal really well with lads who've just come out of the game thinking they're pros and made it and can rebuild themselves afterwards. I was just a bit fortunate, I suppose. I had some good pals around me and some good grounding. So yeah, just cracked on, did the degree, and then, like I say, ended up at FGR.
Shout out to them as well. He always gives me a message, Mark Richards, if I give him a shout out on here. So shout out to Hartbury, and it's fantastic, as I've mentioned on quite a few other videos. Rico and Radders are always quite fond of that. So yeah.
I wish it was about when I was, like I say, that sort of facility, not facility. I mean, as in a something to help you out your career was around then, because the PFA are great, obviously, rehousing and helping you out with coaching badges and all those sorts of things. And they're even more in depth now at players who come out of the game, the help and support they give. But somewhere like Hartbury to sort of restart a career is amazing. I just did it accidentally, I think, at the Uni of Gloucester, because I was in the football team, I did quite well, got on the unis team, went to British universities and then kicked on from there. So, I was a bit lucky. I always say that. I was lucky with that.
Yeah. So you obviously progressed on to play for Forest Green, didn't you? From that situation. So talk to us about that. Obviously, they were the little team up on the hill then, and the heights they've reached now, obviously, in their old stadium. I think I might have played at their old stadium once before it got knocked down. But so how was that? It was a nice little ground, wasn't it, on top of the hill, and decent little atmosphere.
Still in place. You'd never even know it was there. I remember used to travel down the A46. You wouldn't even know there was a football club there. And I remember Tommy Callanan, like I said, he'd pulled me from Ensley and said, "Look, come on up, come and see what you think. We play in what would be the equivalent of now, probably the same one I'm managing it. It'd be the Southern League, South and West. So it was like the Midland Division, Division 1 or something that they were in then. They were like languishing, maybe bottom mid-table, something like that. I met the manager, Frank Regan, and he just literally pulled me and went, "Oh, Sykesy, I've heard a bit about you." Blah, blah, blah. He said, "Just come and see what you think. I'd like to get you involved." There's about 7-8 games left at the end of the season. And the game I watched, the left side midfielder, I think, this is how lucky I am sometimes when it comes to football. The left side midfielder, a lad called Gary Marshall, top lad. He's gone and he used to be at Coventry City. He was a proper player, good Stroud lad, Marshy. And I think he's 2-footed somebody in the corner. Got sent off. Of course, there's a space then straight away come the Saturday. So I'm straight into the team. I was like, brilliant, because he's suspended. It was one of them. The squad, Frank was carrying a squad of about 13, 14 at the time. So I'm like, I'm straight in the squad. So I played the last 6 games of that season. I think I scored on my debut and did quite well. And he offered me a deal for the year after. And then the year after that, that's when he got a couple of lads in. We won that league. And then we got into the Prem. And the year after that, we won that as well. We went straight through. We beat Merthyr. We beat Merthyr on the penultimate penultimate week of the season on the Tuesday night. There was 2,500 up there. Well, that's what they said it was. I think it was a few more than that. To be fair to Big Trev, the old chairman, there was a few more on the gate. But it was swinging from the rafters. We won 3-2 maybe. Scored, did well. We had to beat Bath City on the last day of the season, which you can imagine for somebody like Forest Green, playing a Bath City at the time. I mean, I know that might sound a bit strange now to people who know what Forest Green are now.
Well, the Rovers used to play there, didn't they? And it was
It was phenomenal. It was like, so we got Bath City on the last day of the season. We have to beat that. Oh no, we have to beat Merthyr's result. They were away at bottom of the league, Ashford or somewhere like that. So they were always going to win that game, and we had to beat Bath to win it. So we were at home on last Saturday. Bear in mind, Bath are, Bodes was in charge then, and they were a big team. They had a big budget. They were top 3, top 4. I scored in that game, managed to win 2-0. So we're promoted. We're in the conference. So in 2 leagues, I've gone from 2 years, I've gone from playing the university first team, having a trial with them, to being in the conference with Forest Green. So it was amazing, really.
Incredible.
And I think, looking back now, to the rise was just, and it's only when you finish, mate, it's only when you get to this point where I'm old and finished and retired that you go, blimey, that was some achievement, really. Because as a manager now, on the flip side, if I thought that I was going to, for example, going to do that with people would tell me I was absolutely stupid. it can't be done. But to be fair to Frank, Big Trev, the chairman, and the board there, it was just phenomenal time. So I was just really lucky. I'd just finished uni, I'd just graduated, and we're playing in the conference. It's hunky dory.
So, in that time period, did Forest Green have one of the bigger budgets then, or
No, not at all. And that's the funny thing, really. When I say about Bath City, I mean, obviously I played a little bit of Bath as well, but Bath City at the time were sort of underachieving, if you like, in what would be the equivalent of the Southern Prem now. So similar to the league that the Westerns and the Super Reens and the Tauntons had just got out of. It was that league, and we just got up there. I don't know. Frank had a brilliant knack of getting us together, and the personnel he signed and the group we had were just fab.
What sort of players were you playing with?
So I was playing with ones that you'd probably know. So Matty Coop came in at that point. Yeah, so he's obviously now a season pro himself and just about hanging on. I think he's now he's obviously at Chippenham now as assistant manager. But he was an 18-year-old just been released by Swindon. So he was our youngster and he was off the rails. Bless him at the time. He's obviously back on it now. But we had him as a youngster. I was like the second youngest in the group, and I was probably 25, 26. So it shows that the experience that Frank got in, Tommy Towell was in that group, Gary Smart was in that group, Oggy up front, Paul Hunt scored loads of goals. Mark McGregor then came in as a youngster a bit later on, and banged in loads of goals and is probably the best finisher I've ever seen not to play Football League. And we had a lad like Donny Forbes who played left back. He was just steady Eddie, proper Bristol lad, but give you absolutely everything. He always looked like he was in like second gear. And then goalkeepers wise, we had Stevie Perrin. Well, we had Steve Buck to start with before he got sold to Cheltenham, and then we had Stevie Perrin, Shutty. So it was good through the core. Was really good. There was some Stevie Winter. He came in then when we got to the conference, and he was a top lad to play with, a good pal of mine. So Jimmy Rolo couldn't get in the side. So that's how good it was, if you like. We had a really good blend, and Frank did brilliant with it. And then that year we got into the conference. The year after that, we ended up going to Wembley. So it was like 4 years. It was just success, and it was just brilliant really to be part of. As a young lad, I say young lad, 25, 26, 27. It was brilliant.
Incredible. So, and am I right in thinking then you would have gone to Nuneaton for a little bit?
I did, yeah. So the joys of football, and you'll get this as a manager, and I'm having it at the moment. But when people say, or managers say, "Well, I'm not sure I can give you that, Sykesy," and I was on, and I don't mind admitting, I was on practical peanuts at Forest Green for the best part of 3-4 years there. And I just wanted to be paid appropriately because there were some big hitters in that dressing room all of a sudden. Yeah. Frank wasn't budging. He didn't want to. No, sorry, Sykes, you don't care. You've played 200 games. You've scored 50-odd goals. It doesn't matter. You can go. I was like, all right then. So I was working for Ensley at the time in sports insurance. So I had quite a lot of contact with indirectly with a lot of the conference clubs. So I spoke to Stevenage, I spoke to somebody else, maybe Yeovil at the time, and then Nuneaton as well. When I met their manager, he offered me about treble the money I was even on. I was like, yeah, I'll sign. 2 weeks later, he signs Mark McGregor on about 4 times the money I was on. So I was like, I missed another trick here. But no, it was good. I went, I had a season there. We got on, we had a good FA Cup run, got on the telly, did a few other bits there. That was quite good. And a good group. Stevie Burr was a manager then. And then I came back on loan to Forest Green at the end of the first season because Nuneaton had an option on my contract to re-engage it for the second year. And I thought they were just going to let me go back to FGR. And actually, they engaged the contract. So I was back to Nuneaton at the start of the second season. And then I did eventually come back to Forest Green for the back end of that again. So, I was back what I called home at the time. It was a lot easier going up the M42 on a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday was hard enough. But back to Forest Green, it suited me. I was then starting to embark on thinking about teaching and a few other things. So, a few more appearances and nicked over the 200 mark, I think.
Yeah. No, so quick story from that. So it wouldn't call football manager that back then, but championship manager. I think it was 2001, 2002. So that must have been one of the years you were at Nuneaton. Yeah. You were, I used to play as Nuneaton in the conference, and they had 3-star players, and you were one of them.
Blimey. You must have been
20, I think. Flair 20 out of 20.
And loads of ability to edit and tackle, I expect, as well.
And I always remember that. So, because then obviously when my old man went on to manage Chippenham and stuff after that, obviously you played for Bath and stuff. But
I did,
I always remember that. remember managing nonleague on Championship Manager and you being the star player, and it's just weird then that I would play for you later on.
I know. Yeah.
Strange.
So I left. Yeah, I left Bath. So I left Forest Green then back end of whatever that season would be probably. Came back second year, maybe third year back. Coincidentally, I'd missed out on a testimonial, so I was a little bit bitter about that as well because Frank had let me go about 4 years, I think. And I think at the time, sort of 5 years, you'd normally get some sort of nice friendly game where you'd get a few quid. Missed out on that. I was like, brilliant. But then I ended up signing for Bath. Then from there, Gary Hours I think signed me, and I stayed there for a season or two. Got a couple of bad injuries whilst I was there. Didn't really do as well as I should have done. But again, some brilliant like back in the dressing room with Coopy, Jimmy Rolo, some stars again there.
Proper players, I'd call them.
Yeah, we had great time, to be fair. And again, had another little cup run there, so it was good. But again, Bath I think we finished second maybe in the 7A. We didn't go out, and then we were in the playoffs, lost in the playoffs. And then that's when I'd spoke to Rello and Adi were there at the time then, and that's when Tim had come in for me at Gloucester, and then the Gloucester thing kicked off. So yeah, all good really.
Yeah. Had you always played as a left midfielder then, or left winger, or because I know later in your career you played a bit more off the striker, didn't you?
Yeah. Strangely, my Football League debut was a left back.
Right.
I remember like 2 days before playing, Kingy had said to me, "You're playing on Saturday," and he was trying to do a bit of work with me with my right foot, so I could actually clear the thing with my right foot. But yeah, I played as a left back there. Probably played. Frank had a few different systems, to be fair to him. I think I played left midfield for most of it. And then when we went to a 3-5-2, certainly the days when we went to Wembley, I was playing behind Macca and Boris, so behind Dave Mayhew and Mark McGregor at the time. And that was probably my best position. I was most effective in that position. I was fit at the time, a lot quicker than I was later on when I was at Gloucester. But yeah, I always felt that was the best place for me. And probably in these days, I was one of those like luxury players. I know Frank used to get a bit funny with me when we were going away from home. He used to call me a bit of a homer, but want to play at home. You're all right in front of a crowd at home, but you go away somewhere hard. Yeah, we're not going to take Sykesy with, he dropped me for the odd game there. But yeah, I love playing behind the front two. I think that was probably my best position. And later on, then Boris did that with me again at Gloucester, and it worked wonders and got us. I said, didn't get us promoted, just me playing there at all. It was everybody, but it helped me certainly in my latter days because I could read a game okay and I could strike an okay ball. So it was a good place to be. I was still involved. Whereas if you'd put me at wide midfield, I would never have been able to go past anybody at that stage. I never had natural gas. I think somebody asked me the other day, why did you? One of the coaches actually on the UEFA B asked me, turned around, you'll know Nige, and he turned around to me, he said, so Sykes, he said, why didn't you really make it? And I went, probably natural power and gas, Nige. I think if I'd have been quicker, I could have been a player. But yeah, it's you get by with what you got, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you moved on, sorry, let's talk about Wembley very quickly. You played at Wembley for
Forest Green.
What was that like? What was that experience like?
Off the scale. I said to somebody the other week when I was talking about chances of being the Hellenic and the Vars run, there's only two options really for you as a non-league footballer to get to Wembley. One of those is the Vars final, and one of those is the trophy final. Now, in most years, the trophy final is contested between two conference clubs, or as it is Vanarama Prem clubs now. To get in there outside of that is pretty much unknown. So the year before we went, Cheltenham beat Southport. So Bucky played in that game. Russ Milton, Jace Eaton scored the winner. So they were cock a hoop, and I live in Cheltenham, so I'd seen the open top bus parade. And I'll never forget, we had quite a good run. I think I was top scorer in it the year we got to Wembley because we got a really lucky draw. I think we played a few lower league sides, and then we got to the quarters. I think we drew Southport, and then the semi-final draw, there was Cheltenham, Kingstonian, us, and St Albans. And St Albans were the only team out of the four that were from a lower level. Cheltenham were top of the conference at the time, and we knew Kingstonian were decent. Yeah. And we ended up getting St Albans in a two-legger. Cheltenham played Kingstonian. So I was quite pleased because we avoided Cheltenham. And at the time, Cheltenham were top. They might have been thinking about getting close to getting in the league. And I thought, do you know what? I say hometown, but where I live now, for Cheltenham to be in the final, if we could get to play against Cheltenham, that'd be brilliant.
Yeah.
As it was, they get beat against Kingstonian in their two-legged semi. We go to St Albans. I think we drew the first leg 1-1, and we're 2-0 down in about 20 minutes at home. So we're dead and buried, really. We're dead and buried. We ain't going to Wembley. It's a shambles. I managed to nick one back just before half time, so it's 2-1. And by some strange twist of fate. We win that 3-2, and we're going to Wembley. So we're cock a hoop. Really, it was bonkers. It was the whole thing, though, mate. It was the whole. I remember. Obviously, Cheltenham had been the year before, and Steve Cottrell turned around to me and he spoke to me and he said, Sykesy, just make sure you don't let it pass you by, because it's one of those games where you look around the stadium, there's a few there, it's waving to it, it's all of the stuff that goes with it. When you haven't played there, it is totally off the scale. Frank, to be fair to him, the manager, he'd done everything properly. We trained. I think we trained somewhere near Watford the day before. We were up on the Thursday or the Friday. We went and had a look round, so we tried to get that all out of the way. But I honestly think on the day it was a poor final. We didn't play very well. To be fair, Kingstonian didn't either. It was a little error that lost us the game, but we didn't perform. We didn't do what we should have done on the day. And that's the disappointing thing. It's all very well playing there. And don't get me wrong, like I said earlier, when you look back now and you go, oh, I've played at Wembley. Not many can say that, and that's lovely for my little one. And when she can say one day when she's bothered about, oh, Daddy played at Wembley, brilliant. But you want to win there, and as a non-league player, you just don't get many chances. I mean, there's a few more now. As a pro, you get a few more chances with the playoffs now, obviously. But as a non-league player, like I say, it's priceless. So yeah, pleased I did it. Just disappointed with the result and probably the way that we played.
Yeah, was there a big crowd there on the day, or?
Yeah, it was 20,000, I think. Quite a few. It was pretty much half Kingstonian, Forest Green. So Forest Green took a load, and I was obviously at uni at the time, so a load of my uni mates came on the bus and had a right knees up, as you could imagine. But yeah, it was a great day, brilliant. To be in that dressing room, it was fab. All the iconic stuff was there, and it was the old Wembley, so everything that had gone on was just it was grand. It certainly makes the old hairs on the back of your neck stand up. Yeah,
old Wembley or new Wembley?
I'd say old because I played there, but that's Charlie-ish of me, I know. But it's better now. I will say it's much better now.
Yeah, it was iconic though, wasn't it? That old ground with the
it was the old twin towers and some bits were underwhelming. The dressing room and stuff were underwhelming because I thought they were going to be magical. But if you look at it now, I've seen pictures of what was the one I saw was at Liverpool, was Henderson wandering around. They deck it out, don't they? And it looks for internationals. It's all well lit and everything. You've got loads of room and it's like you could have a five-a-side in the dressing room, whereas the old one, you couldn't do that. I read Tony Adams' book, and you see where the fridge in the corner that he was slumped round after Euro 96 and little things like that. And it was good, but in some bits, like I say, the pitch. Everybody says the pitch is massive. You're going to get cramp. I think it's just the occasion. We probably ran more. You run more, don't you? So yeah, I felt like I was getting cramp, and we were annoyed because we were doing loads of running, probably in a poor game.
No, brilliant, great memory. Something you'll always be able to. Good stuff. Great. So moving on, obviously, I know you went on then to play for Gloucester and had fantastic times there. And I think, so am I right in thinking that did you play off the front man at Gloucester there as well in the 3-5-2 as well?
I think certainly when we got promoted. I mean, when I first went there, I'd play anywhere for Tim at the time, the manager, mostly down the left side. But then Boris came and changed the shape a little bit in the season we got promoted. We had three at the back.
And this is, sorry to interrupt, but this is in the days of like a lot of teams would have been playing 4-4-2, wouldn't they?
Yeah, so it was. It was.
So the 3-5-2 would give quite a lot of teams probably something to think about, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and the nature of certainly the coaching side of things, the nature of our personnel, it suited us brilliantly, and it worked really well. We had two out and out centre halves, and we had Muzzy as a sweeper, who at that stage was fantastic doing that because he's a centre midfielder, born and bred playing for Manchester United. So for him to go at sweeper, he read the game brilliantly and he brought people into play, and he could always get us out of jail as well. We had a great keeper in Kev Sawyer, two flying wing backs, Lee Smith being one of them, and then like I say, in midfield, I had Sir Tom Webb running around everywhere like he does, and Matt Rose, who's a great pal of mine, in there doing all the hard work and nuts and bolts for me. And to be fair, between the three of us, we had a bit of everything. You could probably make a really good player out of the three of us. But we had something, and then we had the likes of obviously Will Morford and Simo up front, Jack Pitcher at the time scoring goals. Luke Ballinger was involved. So yeah, we had Lee Marshall played, Jack Harris. We had a really good squad, and it was quite tight knit. So yeah, we came across at a good time, and we went on a good run and did well.
Yeah, brilliant, fantastic career. How many non-league games then in total? Do you know the number or?
Oh, blimey. One of my kids at school the other day, actually, strangely, did throw the Forest Green one into me because the kids at school now have obviously no clue that I ever played Forest Green because I don't say anything about it. And they've gone on the website and seen the 200 club, and I think I'm top of that with 200 and what did he say to me? 240 something for them.
Right.
100, I think it was 160 for Gloucester, and then probably 50 odd for Bath, maybe 40, 50 odd for Nuneaton. So yeah, something like that.
No, good stuff. Obviously, so you had a great non-league career in terms of playing wise. Obviously, you had the stint with the pro club Mansfield and stuff. Fantastic sort of playing career. So then coming on to the coaching and management side of things, did you get your first job? Was it at Bishop's Cleeve? Am I right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. So I left Gloucester. I think it was November time of the year we got promoted into Conference North. I was 36 at the time, probably 35 at 36 at the time. So I knew it. I knew from a physical point of view, things were. If we weren't going to play three at the back and I was going to be cheating behind the front man, I wasn't going to be in a 4-4-2. The league was obviously much harder. Conference North. Boris wanted to change the system. I totally understood it. Only regret possibly at that point, could I have gone into a team at a little bit higher? Maybe, if I wanted to really eke the rest of my sort of playing career out, I maybe could have gone and, I won't say cashed in, but do you know what I mean? Gone and had another season somewhere and helped somebody out, maybe a better level. But went to Cleeve. It was local to me. I knew Collie very well, knew a few lads there as well, Mikey Jackson, John Crowford and a few others, and went in there as assistant manager initially. So I must have gone there, November time. And then at the end of that season, I was a bit dismayed with it, if I'm honest, and I was ready to, I was just ready to have a bit of a breather, a bit of a rest. I wasn't sure. I'd come from obviously just winning, what was that? The Doc Martens Prem or whatever it was at the time, Southern League Prem, into Conference North, and then come down. I was feeling like I was the worst player in the world because I wasn't, I just wasn't operating to the levels that I wanted to operate at. So it was a bit of a, a bit of a. I suppose I had a little bit of a chat with myself, say, well, do I want this? Do I want to be playing, or do I want to go the other way? And I thought I wanted to go the other way. And at that point, I think, and I can't remember how it happened, but Collie then, the chairman at Cleeve rang me. Collie they got rid of him. They said, look, we want to go somewhere else. Would you be interested in taking the job on? And I was like, well, yeah, why not? First foray into management. I was like, well, yeah, why not? I knew all the lads that were there. I knew a few of the other ones locally, and I thought, yeah, give it a go. I had some good contacts, obviously, with Cheltenham, Gloucester, Forest Green at the time. And I was like, yeah, okay then. So went in there, and I think we got the height. Well, they're still at the moment. I know Collie will probably go past this next year, hopefully for them. But the highest finish we'd ever got. So I think we finished 11th. Got a few favours in from other people locally, and I was there 2-3 years, I think. And again, just got to the end of my tether with that. I just needed a fresh challenge. Came away from that, was just going to have the summer off, chilling out, obviously still working, whatever else, go on holiday and stuff. And I had a phone call from John Evans at Shortwood to say, and he'd been pestering me since I was at Gloucester, to be fair. And at the time, Shortwood were in the Hellenic, and I was like, I didn't want to play at that. One year I'd come back for Gloucester training. I had a couple of games at Shortwood with him just because I needed a bit of fitness. He said, come back and play. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. And then he said, right, come back and help me manage then. He said, because I'm on, I only want to do it for a year or two more, but I'd love to get somebody I want to hand it to. And that's how that came about then. So suddenly out of being like having no job, I think it was one summer, Evo's rung me, we had a chat, talked to the chairman, talked to Rich Webb, and I was sort of joint manager with Evo. And the rest, I suppose, is a bit of history then with regards to what we did there, and I was there for the best part of 4 years. Yeah,
obviously, I knew you spoke about it lots, and I spoke about it in the pay. Obviously, you had the great FA Cup run, didn't you? Played Port Vale, was it, I believe, on BT Sport. I think I was at uni at the time. It was a year before I played for you. But obviously, you had a great run there, didn't you? And it was a good group of players that went on that run.
Yeah, stunning. I mean, if you look at even what they're doing now, obviously we were again, it's sometimes football, things end up in your lap. I know sometimes you can take credit for a few of those things, but certainly a bit of the recruitment we did at the time. Somebody like Sam Avery, I'd had him at Cleeve. I knew he was a bit underrated, if I was honest. And he came and he played, and he was immense for us. Went on to play for Gloucester, and he's now doing brilliant things for Western. I think he's got another year at Western next year, and he was fantastic. Adam Mann was another one. He was a bit dismayed with stuff at Gloucester. Came on loan initially, then we kept him. I think he scored a great goal at Aldershot to get us into the first round proper. We stumbled across one in a lad called Duncan Cully. He scored a lot of goals for us that year. Now playing, I think he's done quite well for himself non-league wise. But the hardcore of the group were there, and Evo takes a lot of credit for that. But the likes of Tom King in goal, Paz was there. Jake very well. The likes of James Baldwin, Pritch. There was a lot of lads in there who were Matty Bennett. Canty. There was a lot of Timmy Haddock. There was a lot of Shortwood lads in there who were through and through, and they stepped up brilliantly, and they worked really hard. And to be fair, they were a pleasure to manage. They were a good group, and we did, like I said, we did really well. And there was it was always going to be a bit, like I say, organic. The change over Evo, then I say sort of stepped back slowly, and I took over. Got Morphin, Hosky, got yourself in, got a few other players, likes of Jake Lee, obviously doing good things at Siren now, and a few others, Nick Peer, and that little group, Andy Lewis, Nick Hancock, all still playing good level Southern League. And, even a year or two after I'd left there and they'd all moved on, you were looking around and actually the core of that group that we had, I think just missed out in the playoffs, we're doing really good things, obviously getting promoted with Yate, with Des and a few others, and doing really well. So, yeah, it was good times.
Yeah. Well, and one thing about that group that really sticks out for me, any decent team that I've played in over the years that has done well, you can talk about tactics and formations and this, that, and the other, and good players and good managers, but that group had a really amazing team spirit, and I think that really makes a difference, doesn't it? Especially at non-league level.
Yeah, massive. And I think I'd like to. That's probably something that was nothing to do with me. Is that what you're saying as a coach or manager? No, I'm joking. I'm joking. I think the best teams I've ever played in, like you say, I think it goes hand in hand. If I look back now, and I can look at two definitely as a player, where there were two dressing rooms where I felt a similar sort of thing that you'd have thought about that group that you just mentioned there, and that was Forest Green when we got promoted, and that was Gloucester when we got promoted. And I don't think it's any coincidence that the two times I've had a couple more than that promotions, but those two promotions, I'm still friends with a lot of those lads who are in there. And I know football's one of those things where everybody says to you, there's no friends in football, and you never have them. Actually, I'm golfing with 6 of them last week, of that group of Gloucester lads. Yeah. I'm still in contact with those Forest Green boys. So, I think there's a lot to be said for that. And I think that Shortwood group definitely had the same rings to that. And I think as a manager or a coach, like you say, that's the sort of thing I like to think from a recruitment point of view now. That is the sort of thing you can do. You can pick lads that you might gel. From a group dynamics point of view, it's not always easy because you're always going to get a few in there that people don't like or don't get on with. But actually, if they've got your back on a Saturday or a Tuesday night away somewhere horrible and wet, you want to go in the trenches with them. And the old adage, it gets you 10 points a season, but it's absolutely right. I think it probably does get you a few points a season because there's times when you're dealing with 16 blokes, 16 women, whatever your team looks like, there's going to be some in there who don't fancy it, aren't up for it, aren't feeling great, or under the weather. Non-league football, I've had a hard day at work, I've had a hard week, are struggling at home, whatever it might be. And just to get that to bring you through, I think is massive, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And just adding on that, Evo was such a nice guy, wouldn't he? I know he did a great job at Shortwood over the years, and you've got a good relationship with him. But certainly, when I obviously only played for you guys for sort of a year or so, year and a half, whatever it was. But when I come to play for you, what I do remember is with yourself and Evo is the fact that I felt that you were probably one of the first sets of managers that were quite objective about things and not just come in and scream and shout at you for the sake of it. And that really sort of perked my ears up a little bit when I sort of in that dressing room and see the way that people like yourself and Evo operate at that sort of higher level. And because a lot of managers are just, sometimes I think it's a bit of a cop out just to come in and go mad at players and tell them they're not working hard enough when they've been at work all day and they've traveled. It's an easy thing to say, isn't it? But certainly I've always felt that yourself and Evo were very objective and fair and honest about things and try to speak to the players in the right way.
Yeah, thanks, mate. That's how I've always been. I always try and be as honest as I possibly can with lads, whilst also trying to get the best out of a group. And it's a tough gig sometimes, because I think I can say that from experience of being a manager for 6, 7, 8 years maybe. And I think you go through that as a player. I think all those formative years as a player, and I always wanted to, especially going into management, I always wanted to take the best bits out of all the managers I had. Because somebody said to me, "Oh, who's the best manager you've ever had?" It's a bit like I'm saying about me, Tom and Matty. We could have made a decent player out of the three of us. Yeah. But all the managers you've had, if you can just take little bits out of all of them, and lots of bits out of the really good ones, then I think I'm just trying to emulate that, I suppose. And yeah, it's just approaches. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a time and a place to go crackers, and when things need that, I can deliver that as well. But I think I know we said a little bit beforehand, but times have changed a little bit, and I think to get the best out of players, not just nowadays, but any days, It's about relationships and about a bit of trust and a bit, just like I say, some will love it really honest, and some you'll have to blow a bit of smoke, and some you'll have to give an arm round, and some you'll have to give a rollicking, and
Sure.
and you get to know, certainly in your own dressing room as a manager or a coach, I think you get to know which ones. And that's knowing people. I think that's a bit of a skill. I'm not saying I've cracked it, because I'm far from it. You're always learning, but you just know the ones that can take X, Y, or Z, and the ones that
Sure.
can take or need the cuddle, or need the smoke, or need the little something in the ear on a Thursday night, or even in-game management. Knowing which ones need a chivvy on, whether it's half time during the game, and those who just need to be left alone to get on with it. And yeah, this game takes all sorts, doesn't it? You've got to. I think even the top. I don't know, but I think even the top managers are doing that. You look at the Klopps and the Peps of the world, and the relationship they've got with players. It's a bit like a father figure, like pastoral role almost.
Yeah.
And I'm more akin to trying to do that. I like helping people. It's part of my job. It's a daily, and it's part of my job when I come to football. I like helping people. And when you get that back, and when you get that relationship where you can see that they're giving their bits for you, that's when you think you've cracked it. And sometimes you might not even get results with that, but you can see that people are giving 100%, because you might actually have lads, and that's no disrespect to anybody I've worked with over the last 8-10 years, but you might get lads who are actually the top of their level for you, and it might not be good enough on that day in an FA Cup game or a Southern League game, but actually they're giving everything that they possibly can. And then you've got success stories when the ones go on and they are good and they can make it and they can kick on. So yeah, it's a fine line, and it's a balance. That as a manager now and as a coach, it's just knowing players, and that's hard.
Yeah, no, absolutely, no, good stuff. Listen, I've kept you far too long. Obviously, I know you had a short one came to an end, and then you had a brief spell at, was it a club? It was a club up north, on the beginning with
Redditch. Yeah, Redditch. Yeah. I went in as assistant manager to him there. It was a good project at the time. I thought we were getting somewhere. We got to the back end of that season. We had a good group in there. Like Stewie Fleetwood, who was in there as a centre forward, who's now assistant manager. Yeah, he was fantastic that year, and it was that sort of thing. We were just sort of, we thought we were on the cusp of something, because it was a hard league, and there was some big hitters in there. Recruitment was going quite well, and then for whatever reason, Tim wasn't happy with a few things, and we walked away from that. And Tim had a bit of time out before he's now back at Worcester. And again, I had a bit of time out, because it was that point where I was a bit sort of, I wouldn't say I was disillusioned with it, but I was just waiting for the right thing. Alongside, the day job, you've got to be mindful of the fact I can't really do 2 hours traveling anywhere, even if I'm as desperate as I might be to be a manager or a coach somewhere. Things had to be relatively local, and the sort of those local jobs weren't coming up. So I put my hat in the ring for a few, didn't get them for one reason or another. And then obviously, like I say, Cinderford came around, and I thought, you know what, I'm ready to get back in now.
Yeah, great.
I can't get the golf handicap down, so I may as well go back to football.
So brilliant. So just on Cinderford then, obviously, I know you took over at a difficult spot when they were probably, I know you were saying at the start, which you're saying, how you felt you were sort of partly responsible for where you finished. But obviously, the fact of the matter was, and the reality is, that you were obviously in a precarious position when you took over in the October, November time, whenever that was. Yeah. So that was obviously a challenging situation to walk into. And you've done, obviously, the reprieve has been fantastic moving forward. How is Cinderford as a club? How have you found it?
Brilliant. From the minute I walked in, the previous chairman and the new board, because they're sort of one and the same really, but they've been ultra supportive. I think they knew the position they were in, so they have been ultra patient, I suppose, with me, because football at the moment is one of those businesses at any level whereby it's all governed by success, game by game, and if you're not getting it, whether you're at the top level or whether you're at the bottom of the local Division 6, you're probably going to get the sack or be asked to leave. So what were we? I think we were second bottom. We had 9 points. The boys just didn't know how to win a game. They'd been battered really. They'd been on the back of some thumpings, and they just needed a bit of a lift. Whether I was that or not, I don't know. I had to do a bit of weaning out. I think some of that happened naturally, some happened by choice. I did everything I could recruitment-wise with everything I've got locally, all those networks that we've already spoke about, the Bath Cities, the Gloucesters, the Forest Greens, the Cheltenhams, everything else, just to try and get some new blood in to make it a bit better. But of course, the reality is we were second from bottom. We had 9 points, and there's nice a bloke as I might think I am, people possibly aren't going to come and play for you when the situation is, do you know what, Sykesy, actually,
Sure.
I can play locally in the lower league, whether that's Western League or Hellenic, without any of that travel, without coming to you for arguably not a lot of money. So I was I didn't have a dream to sell, as it were. And I needed some boys in there who, you know, who could battle a little bit, I suppose, because that's the situation. That's what it needed. It wasn't necessarily about fast flowing football or anything like that, or all the things that I'd like to see total football wise. It was about winning some games. And you know what, we got pretty close to it, and we made big inroads, and we upset a few on the way, and we surprised a few, and we definitely made some improvements. And I think possibly that's why the chairman and the board, I think have stuck with me. They can see what I'm trying to aim for. Myself and Will have got a vision of where we want the club to be, what we want to do with it, and how we want to do it. And we're quite fluid with that. But that said, it's all about winning football matches, and that puts smiles on people's faces, more people through the gate. But also from a group, it gives you confidence, and all that. The word about momentum and all that sort of thing is key. So yeah, we did okay. We just probably failed previous to the final. It was Easter weekend. I think it was one of those where we played Saturday, Monday. We were 2-0 up at Lymington, ended up losing 3-2. And then we got done by a sucker punch by Evesham on the bank holiday Monday. So that was sort of nails in the coffin at that point, because we went to Plymouth Parkway on the last day of the season, and they were about to get presented the league. So it was done before then, and I think the damage was done before then. But like I said, third bottom was always going to be okay, we were told. So to get the reprieve, I think it's a bit of karma for the club, not necessarily for me, because I never want to finish in that position, obviously. And then moving forwards, that's giving us a platform now. Like I said, we were on the up, certainly improving things on and off the pitch, and getting a group together now who are going to be competitive next season for sure. I'm not naive enough to go and say, oh yeah, we're going to go win the league, because I know what some of the finances and some of the personnel that are coming into that league, and I think everything that's dropping down now is just getting better and better. So the cascade that comes from the football league down to the conference. I mean, you look at the conference now. I think there's 2 part-time teams in there.
It's like another pro league, really, isn't it?
Yeah. So Conference North and South. That's almost the equivalent, I think, of the conference when I played. I'm not knocking it, but I think that's because there's more I say non-league teams in there, but there's more teams in there who are full of your local scaffolders and your boys who are working every day and still playing. There's a couple of full-time teams in there, but not many now. And then it just improves the quality a bit further down. So you're getting better and better at Southern League Prem, Southern League, Hellenic Prem. It's good. It's good for the game, but from a manager's point of view, you want to be operating with the best lads you can, with a bit of momentum, and working really hard to do the best you possibly can. And certainly going into pre-season, into next season, that's what we'll be doing. And I'm sure, the board, that's exactly what they want. And certainly for me and Morph and the lads that I've retained, and also a few that I've got in the door, that's what we're looking to do.
Yeah, brilliant. Great stuff. Listen, thanks so much for coming on. Thanks so much for a good chat. And I'm really pleased that you've got the reprieve that you deserve as a club, and yourself and Morph with the hard work you do. Obviously, knowing you as a person as well, and Morph, proper good football people who, like I said, are objective in what they want, and are thoughtful, and actually have got people's best interests at heart. I can't sing your praises high enough, really, in terms of who you are as football people. And I just wish you all the success for next season moving forward. And I'm sure that you'll have a strong and positive season. And all the very best of that, mate.
Mate, that's brilliant. Thanks, Chalky. Top work. Must send your best to your old man too, because the bit I forgot to mention in a local derby was once I was going cap in hand for him on the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, because he was threatening to rip my head off because I'd banged on his door as we walked past, and we beaten Chippenham in some local game. So you must. I always apologise to him every time I see him.
I remember that. I was about 13 at the time, and I do remember that. But then, good stuff. They were good times.
I think I sent Koopy in front of me. I said, "Can you go and tell Chalky it wasn't me?"
yeah. Brilliant. Love it.
Top man. Great to see you, mate.
Fantastic. Right. You've been listening to Chalk Talk. Thank you so much, everyone. Please hit a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.